Most stories begin with a hero who has a dream. This story begins with a boy who has a nightmare. Look at this face. Thorfinn. This isn't the face of a man who won. This is the face of a man who realized that every victory he ever claimed was actually a crushing defeat. For years, we've been told that a true warrior is the one who stands atop a mountain of corpses. But Vinland Saga asks a terrifying question. What if the mountain is just a tomb, and you are the one buried inside it? In our last deep dive into Naruto, we discussed the power of forgiving the unforgivable. But Thorfinn takes this a step further. He doesn't just forgive his enemy, he realizes that the very concept of an enemy is a poison we drink, hoping the other person dies. Thorfinn spent 11 years of his life fueled by one thing: hatred for Askeladd. He ate, slept, and breathed for the moment he could plunge a dagger into the throat of the man who murdered his father. He thought that vengeance would be his salvation. He thought it would give his life meaning. He was wrong. Today, we aren't just looking at a Viking's redemption. We are looking at the philosophy of the void. We are exploring how a man who lost everything, including his reason to hate, found a purpose in the middle of his deepest pain. This is the philosophy of the man who finally understood, I have no enemies. To understand Thorfinn's peace, we must first understand his madness. For over a decade, he wasn't a person. He was a weapon. He didn't have a life. He had a target. This is what we often call the vengeance trap. It's a psychological state where your entire identity is built upon the existence of another person, specifically, someone you hate. Askeladd wasn't just the man who killed Thorfinn's father. He became the sun around which Thorfinn's entire universe revolved. Think about the irony here. Every drop of blood Thorfinn spilled, every night he spent shivering in the cold, was done for the sake of the man he hated most. He became Askeladd's most loyal shadow just for the chance to be the one to end him. This is the ultimate existential joke. When you live for revenge, you aren't the master of your fate. You are a slave to your enemy's pulse. But then, the unthinkable happens. Askeladd dies. Not by Thorfinn's hand, but by another's. In an instant, the why of Thorfinn's life evaporated. He didn't feel relief. He didn't feel justice. He felt a void so vast it threatened to swallow him whole. This is the moment where many of us break. When the goal you've chased for years turns out to be a ghost, what's left of you? As Thorfinn is sold into slavery, he enters a state of pure nihilism. He stops talking. He stops fighting. He eats only to survive, with eyes that look like they've already seen the end of the world. He is a living corpse. But it's in this absolute zero of the soul that something remarkable begins to grow. Because when you have nothing left to live for, you are finally forced to ask what you are living as. The second act of Thorfinn's life doesn't take place on a battlefield, but in a forest. As a slave on a farm, his days are spent clearing stumps and tilling soil. It is monotonous. It is grueling. And for the first time in his life, it is quiet. In the silence of the woods, the ghosts begin to speak. Every man Thorfinn killed, every face he stepped over in his pursuit of Askeladd, returns to haunt his dreams. This is where the story shifts from a historical epic to a psychological study on survivor's guilt. Thorfinn realizes that while he was busy trying to avenge his father, he was actually betraying everything his father stood for. We are introduced to the memory of Thors, a man so powerful he didn't need a sword. Years ago, Thors told his son, "A true warrior needs no sword." At the time, Thorfinn thought his father was weak. Now, standing over the ruins of his own life, he realizes that Thors was the only one who is actually strong. This is the bridge to our existential core. In the philosophy of Stoicism, there is a focus on what we can control. Thorfinn cannot bring back the dead. He cannot erase the blood on his hands. He is faced with a choice: succumb to the weight of his sins and end it all, or find a way to carry that weight into a new life. He meets Einar, a fellow slave who lost everything to war, the very kind of war Thorfinn used to wage. Through Einar, the victims of war are no longer faceless NPCs or collateral damage. They have names, they have grief. This friendship is the catalyst for Thorfinn's rebirth. He begins to understand that the true warrior isn't the one who causes pain, but the one who works to heal it. He decides that he will never hurt another human being again. Not because he is a coward, but because he finally understands the cost of a single life. He is starting to build a world where the word enemy has no meaning. But as he will soon learn, the world isn't ready for a man without a sword. The true test of any philosophy isn't how it sounds in a library, but how it holds up when someone is punching you in the face. For Thorfinn, that test comes in the form of a wager. To stop a war and speak with the king, he agrees to endure 100 unrestrained blows from a massive warrior without hitting back. This is a scene that defies every trope of the shonen genre. Usually, this is where the hero reveals a secret power or a hidden transformation. But Thorfinn's power is something far more uncomfortable: endurance. As he takes hit after hit, his face swelling and his bones rattling, we see the philosophy of the true warrior in its rawest, most brutal form. He isn't being a doormat. He isn't acting out of weakness. He is making a conscious, violent effort to break the cycle of retaliation. In the world of Vikings, and often in our own modern world, the hardest thing you can do is refuse to return a blow. This brings us to a profound realization about the nature of enemies. Why do we have them? Most of the time, an enemy is just a mirror of our own fear or our own ego. We create enemies to justify our anger, to feel superior, or to have a target for our internal pain. By refusing to fight back, Thorfinn shatters that mirror. If you don't treat the person in front of you as an enemy, they are forced to confront their own humanity. When the 100th blow finally lands, and Thorfinn is still standing, he doesn't look like a victim. He looks like a victor. He has achieved what his father, Thors, always wanted. He has found a strength that doesn't require a victim. But this leads to a final, staggering question. If you have no enemies, does that mean you have no place in a world built on conflict? Thorfinn's answer isn't to hide from the world, but to build a new one. A land where the sword is obsolete. A land called Vinland. So, why does a story about 11th century Vikings resonate so deeply with us today? It's because we all live in our own version of a battlefield. We may not carry iron swords, but we carry words, social media feeds, and ideologies that we use to slash at anyone who disagrees with us. We are a society obsessed with finding enemies to validate our own sense of justice. Thorfinn's journey teaches us that the most difficult war you will ever fight is the one against your own ego. To say, "I have no enemies," isn't a declaration of peace. It's a declaration of war against the part of yourself that wants to hate. It is the ultimate form of radical responsibility. Think about the philosophy of the void we mentioned earlier. When Thorfinn lost his hatred for Askeladd, he had to fill that hole with something else. He chose to fill it with the dream of Vinland, a land beyond the reach of war and slavery. But as the story progresses, we realize that Vinland isn't just a place on a map. It's a way of being. It's the choice to be the one who stops the cycle, even if it costs you everything. In our analysis of Naruto, we saw a hero who changed the world through power and persuasion. Thorfinn is different. He changes the world by refusing to be changed by it. He accepts the pain, he accepts the scars, and he continues to walk forward with open hands instead of clenched fists. This is the purpose in pain that we promise to explore. Your pain doesn't have to be a weight that sinks you. It can be the foundation of your empathy. Thorfinn can forgive because he knows exactly how much it hurts to be broken. He can love because he has seen the absolute bottom of hatred. As we close this chapter of Philosophy Behind Heroes, I want you to look at your own life. Who is the enemy you are carrying? Is that hatred giving you strength? Or is it just a leash that someone else is holding? Maybe. Like Thorfinn, your greatest victory is still waiting for the moment you decide to drop your sword. Because a true warrior doesn't need a victim to be strong. A true warrior just needs the courage to say, "I have no enemies. No one in this world is my enemy." Drop a comment below. I want to know if you think Thorfinn is a saint or just a fool. I'll be down there to discuss it with you. If this video hit home, subscribe to the channel. We're digging into the heavy stuff here at Philosophy Behind Heroes. And if you want to see how this same idea of breaking the cycle looks in a different world, go watch the Naruto video next. Thanks for being here. See you in the next one.